Let me remind y'all that Melania, the First Lady, a model, and when I say model, I'm not talking about Tyra Banks, Cindy Crawford, or Naomi Campbell level, applied for and was given an EB-1 visa. And what that stands for is an Einstein visa. Now,
but I also want to defend Melania real quick. Not everybody could marry Donald Trump, and I think that's quite an achievement. So I think she deserves credit for that. Nobody up here could have done it.
You sure right. I couldn't do it.
Mostly because they thought he was a good businessman, but that is just because he's a Nepo baby.
Let me remind y'all, Melania Trump, the First Lady, a model. And when I say model, I'm not talking about Tyra Banks, Cindy Crawford, or Naomi Campbell level. She applied for and was granted an EB-1 visa. That's right, an Einstein visa. Not everybody could marry Donald Trump. And I think that's quite an achievement. She deserves some credit for that. None of us up here could have done it. I know I couldn't. Mostly because folks thought he was a good businessman. But let's be real, that's just because he's a Nepo baby. Now, the reason Barron Trump dialed 911 wasn't because of a robbery or a fire. It was because Congresswoman Jasmine Crockett revealed that Melania Trump, yes, Trump's wife, had spent $137,000 on flowers in Trump World. There was no oversight. That's a criminal offense. Turned out, the woman carrying the receipts was the trigger, not the receipts themselves.
The idea that Trump and my Republican colleagues want to restore integrity and security in the visa process is actually a joke. Let me be clear. Integrity is not snatching lawful visa holders off the streets and throwing them into unmarked vans. Integrity is not revoking visas based on social media posts that hurt somebody's little feelings because kids decide that they want to go after Trump or this administration. We have a thing called free speech in this country.
This wasn't guesswork.
And tonight, we're going to follow the petals of that floral bill from Mar-a-Lago all the way to Capitol Hill. Hold on tight. Not a single clip in this video is fake.
No actors. No de f***es.
Just America being America. They say they want to bring back integrity to the immigration system. Jasmine Crockett asked, integrity for who? Because when you look at the math on that First Lady's visa, it ain't adding up.
As to why my Republican colleagues aren't talking about the lack of integrity when it comes to the president's family's visas. Let me remind y'all that Melania, the First Lady, a model, and when I say model, I'm not talking about Tyra Banks, Cindy Crawford, or Naomi Campbell level, applied for and was given an EB-1 visa. And what that stands for is an Einstein visa. Now,
the idea that Trump and his Republican allies want to restore integrity in the visa process, that's laughable. Integrity is not snatching lawful visa holders off the street and throwing them into unmarked vans. Integrity is not revoking visas because of someone's social media post that hurt your feelings. We have a thing called free speech in this country. Jasmine didn't raise her voice.
Y'all that don't know, let me tell you how you receive an Einstein visa. You're supposed to have some sort of significant achievement, like being awarded a Nobel Peace Prize or a Pulitzer, being an Olympic medalist, or having other sustained extraordinary abilities and success in sciences, arts, education, business, or athletics. Last time I checked, the First Lady had none of those accolades under her belt. It doesn't take an Einstein to see that the math ain't mathin' here.
She didn't disrespect anyone. She just pointed out the inconsistency in a government that raids homes over expired visas, but never questioned the First Lady's own visa documentation. If that's not a double standard, then what is? This wasn't a smear. It was a mirror. Jasmine came with facts, and she had one ask: show your work. But when the First Lady's resume didn't meet the criteria, and the receipts started surfacing, Jasmine's voice didn't just echo. It exploded online. Trump couldn't stop mentioning her name.
How about this new one they have, their new star, Crockett? How about her? Is that real? Are they serious about that? That's their new star? If that's their new star, they're in serious trouble. I mean, this is Crockett. Oh man. But we've done a job, but they've totally lost their confidence. And it's a hard thing when you lose your confidence, but they've taken a lot of beatings, and now they're going to rely on Crockett to bring them back.
Why does he yell your name? Crockett over and over. And then they're going to bring Crockett.
They've got a new star, Crockett. Oh man, they're in trouble now. If a simple televised statement can shake the man who shakes everyone else, you know she hit a nerve. Jasmine never shouted, never threatened. But Trump? He kept saying her name like it was stuck in his throat. That's how you know the truth landed. And let's talk about that Einstein visa again. You're supposed to have significant achievements, like a Nobel Peace Prize, Pulitzer, an Olympic medal, sustained excellence in science, education, business, or the arts. None of those things were under Melania's belt.
Being accused of wanting all kinds of criminals to be on the streets, or that we don't believe that people should show up to their meetings and appointments. Last time I checked, there's a lot of people that are actually being grabbed as they are going in for their appointments. In fact, we know that one of the candidates that was recently running in this mayoral, he ended up being arrested because he decided that he was actually going to escort people that are actually showing up to their meetings.
It doesn't take an Einstein to see that the math ain't mathin'. All Jasmine did was read the rulebook and ask a basic question. If this isn't a double standard, then what is? The government bends for the powerful and preaches integrity to everyone else. That's what Jasmine showed. And then Trump lashed out again. Crockett, oh man, she's their new star? We're in trouble. He mocked her name, mocked her intelligence. But it was clear she'd made an impression. Because in Trump world, loyalty is law. And even questioning a flower bill can get you booked.
And personally, I've never met the man. I have no interest in going to the White House and meeting him for whatever reason. I live rent-free.
Trump once said Barron is the most attractive person in the world. Yet when Jasmine tracked that flower bill, Barron called the police. Not to debate, not to deny, just panic. Barron claimed Jasmine's comments were harassment. A grown man offended by flower receipts. And the MAGA media lost it. Apparently, in Trump world, telling the truth is considered treason. Jasmine said it plain. These men don't follow rules. They do whatever he tells them to do. And that's not just a jab. That's the pattern.
So, these guys don't play by any rules. They break everything. And right now, they are trying to not only rig the midterms, but potentially rig the next election by making sure that we have more of these complacent, complicit folk continuing to run the House, because honestly, they just do whatever he tells them to do. They don't do what the Constitution calls for, and they don't do what their oath calls for.
Even Trump himself mocked her intelligence. She's low IQ. She and AOC need an IQ test. I took mine and I aced it. As if passing a memory test equals leadership. Jasmine didn't bother with insults. She didn't try to match his energy. She matched his receipts. And then she dropped more. Because if $137,000 in flowers triggered a police report, wait till y'all see what comes next. She said, this isn't harassment. This is oversight.
The hottest one out there. I gave him.
It's very nice to see you. Very nice.
I gave him a shout out last night.
I don't know how this guy made it to the court. He doesn't sound like he's that intelligent, or he pretended not to be intelligent. I'm not really sure. But the base is, we're talking about a case where there was no standing.
And she brought more than flowers. Spa days for non-government guests. Romantic dinners with luxury jewelry brands. All signed off in Melania's name. If watching is a crime, Jasmine's got enough evidence for life. They called her a bully. She replied with a spreadsheet. No name-calling.
No assumptions.
Just the facts. Within 48 hours, hashtag Stand with Crockett trended across the country. Union workers, teachers, veterans. They weren't talking about flowers. They were talking about accountability. Jasmine reminded America what oversight looks like. And while Melania's team Googled how to justify $137,000 in roses,
It only looks like he's even more guilty. And here's the deal. Guilty of what? I don't know.
Jasmine kept doing the work. Then she asked the people, who's responsible for gutting medical research? Trump. Kidnapping Americans and deporting them? Trump. Waging a tariff war? Hurting farmers, raising costs, ignoring the Constitution? Trump.
Melania Trump made a rare appearance in compliance with Section 3, subsection 2.7 of her prenuptial agreement, and Look at the way these two lovebirds interact with each other. Their chemistry, it's positively smoldering.
Please welcome our next Commander-in-Chief, my husband, President Donald J. Trump.
Defend her still today.
To me, there's nothing more beautiful than watching a man and his wife try not to smudge each other's bronzing cream.